So when we were planning our fall a while ago, we were talking about all the different ways that we could invite our community to come together and invite our neighbors to experience what God is doing here at Northern Light Church. And so the idea for this community barbecue came up, and so we wanted to find a way that all of you could easily invite your friends and neighbors to this thing that's just going to be super laid back, super inviting, no pressure thing. And so what we have, the ushers are going to come around with these little thingies, right? Yeah, they are. Okay, great. Last week I showed you our big mailer cards that on the front it has a shoe with some toilet paper on the bottom, and it says, "Not perfect, neither are we." And as you may have noticed from the previous 20 minutes of this service, we are definitely not perfect. But God is up to something here. And so these are just little foldable business card size versions of our mailer that has all the information someone would need to know, not only about our barbecue that is on September 18th, but also it has my upcoming teaching series, Living the Good Life, where I'm going to be talking about breaking bad habits, making and keeping friends, and living generously. So things that people care about deeply. And it also has directions to our church and website and phone number and all that good stuff. So there's a box coming around, and I want you to take as many of these as you want to and start compiling a mental list of the people in your life that you could invite. Maybe invite someone out for coffee, and oh, hey, I just happen to have one of these in my pocket, and hand it off as an invitation. Because we believe that Northern Light Church is something worth sharing, and so this is an easy way for you to do that. So I encourage you to take as many of these as you want. We made 500 of them, so go to town. Also, just one more word about that school supply drive, in case you missed it. Anya was at a vacation Bible school and saw a video. She's 12? 11. She's 11. And she was at a vacation Bible school, and she saw a video that showed a classroom in Africa and how they all had to share one pencil for everyone in the room. And her heart was stirred. So much so she wanted to take the initiative of doing a school supply drive here at Northern Light Church. And I hope that your heart is stirred, not just by the story of the video in Africa, but also by the initiative of one girl in our church. That you could come through for her. So take a look at the list of the items that we need. It's mostly pencils, rulers, solar calculators, notebooks, things like that. And please, next Sunday is the last week to bring them. So donate generously as you're able and drop them in the visit box right by the front door. And now we're going to jump into kind of telling our story and singing some songs along the way. We're thinking, what can we do on Labor Day weekend? Who's going to even be here? Maybe it's just us. Well, if it's just us, then we can sing some songs, and that'll make us happy. So, but thankfully, it's not just us. There's more than just us. What we want to do today is we want to talk through kind of our evolution as church people. Jenni and I were both church kids growing up, and we've had kind of a circuitous journey through different ways of understanding. We've been let down by church and church people. We've been encouraged and lifted up and motivated by church and church people. And so, and I know a lot of us here who are part of Northern Light Church have either felt alienated by church, have felt frustrated by church, have felt put off by church, or shunned in some way throughout your story. And so we all can have a complicated relationship with these people who are God's people that show up in these different pockets called churches. And so we wanted to talk through how we experience church and how we got to the place where we're like, you know what? Let's just plant a church, okay? No big deal. Let's just do that. So that's kind of where we're starting today. And Jenni was going to start by telling a little bit about her background.
And so some of these songs were kind of pulled as nuggets, sort of like as we were growing up together. Most of you probably know, but Cullen and I have been dating since high school. We got married a couple of years out of high school. We've been together for a long time, so our journey really is intertwined a lot. Although growing up, we were different. I mean, he grew up Methodist, and I grew up non-denominational in a more charismatic setting, and I went off to a Bible college after graduating high school. And I think reflecting back in that time of life, there was something that was stirring me that wasn't quite right. And I went to a large church, and they're amazing. They touched many people. And then the college I went to was really polished and professional as far as their chapel services go. And but there was still something that was missing in me, and I felt like more of the emphasis, and when I was growing up at the time, was more on the presentation or what was happening up front than it was about being a body of believers that went out and did something. So when I met Cullen, who came from a background of service, lots of service, and then their service was more traditional, not the band and a lot of hoo-ha, whatever, I was like, yes, this is the thing I'm missing. And so at that time I was kind of reflecting on what I was going through, and this song kind of came up from one of my favorite artists, and it's based out of Isaiah. Is it Isaiah 1? So in the Bible, it's God talking about all their festivals, and at the time his people were putting on all these festivals and doing all this show, but their hearts were very far from God. And I was like, yes, I resonate with that. And he says in here, like, I want your life to match what you're saying about me, and so you need to do. And that was totally my turning point, and us merging together. So this song is called Instead of a Show. Show and pretense, the hypocrisy of your praise, the hypocrisy of your festivals. I hate all your show. Away with your noisy worship, away with your noisy hymns. When you're singing on, I hate all your show. Instead, let there be a flood of justice, an endless procession of righteous living. Instead, let there be a flood of justice instead of the show. There's blood on your hands. You turned your back on the homeless, the ones that don't fit in your plans. Quit playing religion games. There's blood on your hands. Instead, let there be a flood of justice, an endless procession of righteous living. Instead, let there be a flood of justice instead of a show. Let's argue this out. If your sins are blood red, let's argue this out. You'll be white as the cloud. Yeah, let's argue this out. Quit fooling around. Give love to the ones who can love at all. Give hope to the ones who got no hope at all. Stand up for the ones who can't stand at all. Instead of a show, I hate all your show. Instead, let there be a flood of justice, an endless procession of righteous living. Instead, let there be a flood of justice instead of a show. I said someone to singing. The words are up there for kind of to meditate, but if you feel like singing, go ahead and sing along with us. This isn't a show.
Yeah, so that's Jenni's background, is moving from something external to something internal. And mine is kind of the similar transition, but going from one place, kind of moving to the center with Jenni. I grew up as a pastor's kid in a Methodist church, and lots of great experiences there, lots of kind of touch points with what faith is all about. And yet, I saw a lot of external practices of Christianity, but it always seemed to me, like my interpretation of them, I can't know what was going on inside of people's hearts, but it felt like it was just kind of prescribed, rote actions. This is what you're supposed to do, and then people do it. And it's just the rhythm of life without the kind of deep reflection and heart change that's needed. I didn't even know that there ought to be a time in one's life when you realize that you are a broken person and that you need God to live. You need God's forgiveness to turn your life around. And for those of you who did grow up in church, you can understand what I mean, where kind of God is just kind of always there. And yet, even though God is always there from the beginning, and you kind of always believe from the very beginning, there also has to be a moment where things change for you too. Maybe it's several small moments, or maybe it's one big moment. I had a big moment when I was singing with my youth choir, and they sang a song, and the words were, "Lord, I offer my life to you. Everything I've been through, use it for your glory." Those were the words of the song that the youth choir was singing. And in that moment, I didn't sing the words as rote, prescribed thing that I ought to be doing. I sang the words as the cry of my own heart, and gave my life completely over to God in that moment for the first time, first of many times, right? Then I looked around after that moment at the practices that were going around, and so many of the people around me felt dead. There was a moment, there was a last straw for me when I showed up for a youth group meeting, and I was told, "You have a new youth leader. We fired the old one. Here's the new one." And I said, "Well, there was a problem?" Like, yes, there was. We didn't bother telling anyone about it, but now here's the new one. And I thought, that just doesn't seem like the way people with deep heart changes should operate. And so I pushed against that background, just like Jenni kind of was frustrated with hers. And realizing that there needs to be this transition from death to life in all of us. That's a big reason why Northern Light is here, so that people can have that moment and then live the life that is full of life that comes after it. And so we're going to share another song that kind of reflects that sentiment, and it's called "Dead Come to Life."
Living dead, you are the opposite. We're like fire and ice, only one can survive. Thy will's departed. My
Well, so I talked about kind of where Jenny and I both had kind of wonky feelings about the church and stuff, but there was this constant throughout both of that for each of us, especially as we came together to kind of support each other in our faith, even in our dating relationship, and that was like Jesus. Like Jesus was still the same, even though the circumstances around what it meant to be a part of the people that follow Jesus might have been a little bit up for grabs. And so it was really interesting as we got married and started to explore our faith and dive deeper together. Learning more about what is the mission of God's people on earth. And you look in the Bible, and the church looks really different than it does today. In fact, the church as it exists today would have been unrecognizable to Jesus as the movement that he started, quite honestly. But it's because our culture has shifted so much. In Jesus, in the first generation of Christianity, church was small pockets of believers who would gather together in homes and share life together, share their resources together, and then be this kind of grassroots project to redeem the world together, arm in arm, moving into a world that was filled with so much corruption and evil, with the Roman Empire everywhere, broken religious systems, taking advantage of the poor and left out in the world. And so the church was this small but powerful cluster of people who then grew and grew and grew. And we were thought about that and reflected on, well, then why bother with these big churches? These churches that are so institutional and everyone's got to sit and listen while someone talks. And usually now it turns out that's me. That's funny, huh? But the thing that we came to realize throughout all of that is there is a constant from that church in the first century and the church in the 21st century. There's something that holds us together across the millennia, and that is this one person, Jesus, placing our faith in him, and then what it looks like to be faithful to Jesus. That changes over time because there are so many different things, different realities in our culture that we need to respond to. So right now, we're in this project of planting a church because this is the way that people find God. When people are curious, when people are hungry for something, for faith, they don't start knocking on doors going down the street saying, hey, is there a church here? No, they go to a building that says church on it, and they walk in on a Sunday morning. And so that's why we're here. To be part of that story that was being written 2,000 years ago, and to participate in that in the very best way we know how. And this is a song that I wrote a bunch of years ago that talks about that, that blameless one, Jesus, who showed us what it means to live and taught us what it means to love. And that love can look like a lot of different things. But it always looks like sacrifice. And eventually, it looks like the church. Sometimes it looks like a rose, beautiful, tender, and sweet. Sometimes it looks like a mother raising an arm at her newborn's feet. Sometimes it looks like a widow soaked by the tears of her loss. springtime, and the promises of budding tree speaks. It can feel just like a blow to the chest when we fail to understand. But sometimes it feels like your father's embrace, sometimes like a nail in your hand. This is how we know what it means to love. In the blameless one who gave his life away. No other love could ever measure up to the blameless one who gave his life away. Love one another. 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 And if you love me, you'll love one another. This is how we know what it means to love. In the blameless one who gave his life away. No other love could ever measure up to the blameless one who gave his life away. We're going to do one more song. We had planned more, but we got talking. You caught me monologuing again. All right. Go ahead.
Okay, so the last song. After our journey, figuring out, coming together, the bare bones of things we knew what we really valued as far as church kind of opened the box to, well, really, if this is the basics of what it needs to be, and loving one another and doing justice and taking care of each other, then kind of a lot of pressure kind of went away, in that we didn't have to sustain this other thing that we were wondering, what is the point sometimes of church services and going through the whole, process of every week and every year and whatever. And then this other song came out in our journey too, where we were just trying to reimagine maybe what church looks like, and it's called A Beautiful Letdown, and kind of describing how I don't know, maybe what you think is perfect and pristine in the way that God works in this world, or in His church, or even in Jesus, really. It's good. Thank goodness it's a letdown. It's not what we expect it to be, because usually going back to the basics and being something smaller than what we envision it being perfect and pristine is really what we need. And so this song.
Right, yeah, it's about, we have this expectation about what my life is going to be, and that almost never happens. We get let down dramatically, and the thing that we get in exchange is what God has for us, which is infinitely better. And so that's what the heart of this song is to start stop being bitter, stop doubting because of what life has dealt you, and celebrate in a place that is safe to celebrate with wherever you're at on that road. So we're all, like this song says, we're just a bunch of losers and sinners and failures and fools, but we're in this together. And that's what makes it worth it. That's what makes it holy. So here we go. Was a beautiful letdown. I crashed and burned. Found myself alone, unknown and hurt. It was a beautiful letdown. The day I knew all the riches this world had to offer me would never do. In a world full of bitter pain and bitter doubts, I was trying so hard to fit in, until I found out that I don't belong here.
I don't belong.
I don't belong here.
I don't belong.
I will carry a cross a song where I don't belong. I don't belong. It was a beautiful letdown when you found me here. Yeah, but once in a rare blue moon, I saw everything clear. I'll be a beautiful letdown, as I'll forever be. And though it may cost my soul, I'll stay free. We're still chasing our tails in the rising sun. In our dark wild planets, still spinning round. No one wins and no one's won. See, I don't belong here.
I don't belong.
I don't belong here.
I don't belong. I will carry a cross and a song where I don't belong.
I don't belong. I don't belong here.
I don't belong.
I don't belong here.
I don't belong. Gonna set aside and set sail for the kingdom come.
Kingdom come,
Your kingdom come. Won't you let me down? Yeah. Let my foolish pride forever let me down.
easy living.
You're not much like
The name,
easy dying.
you look just about the same.
Please take me off your list. Easy living. Please come on and let me down.
We are
Beautiful letdown, painfully uncool. The church of the dropouts, losers, sinners, and failures, and fools. What a beautiful letdown. Are we sorry?